Well, hey everyone, I'm filming from my favorite spot. It's 5 o'clock and it's the sunniest that it's been all day. A lot on my heart today. I can't be anyone else but who God has made me to be, and that's all that He is asking. And so I say that to bring encouragement to you all. It's kind of a part two of what I spoke about yesterday. This morning, I was asking the Lord, why do people rebel against you, Lord? Why do they refuse to turn to you? And I just kind of pressed in, and I felt like what the Lord showed me was unforgiveness. When people are resentful and angry and bitter, it's all under the kingdom of murder, so to speak. They're all like underlings that hold up the main player, which is the spirit of murder, and violence comes into that. But just backtracking, unforgiveness, I think that's why people don't turn to God, because we have to look at the root. When I was reading through Exodus yesterday, didn't read through the whole thing, but I was reading some chapters, and it's almost hard to believe that Pharaoh did not soften his heart when his whole land was being destroyed. I mean, that's really hard to believe, but it was God's divine intervention that hardened his heart until God took his firstborn son. And I believe the parable there, the analogy, is that God gave up his firstborn son, Yeshua, to redeem us. So there's a parable there, and there's an analogy there. So, if this time doesn't cause us to be still and to be quiet, I don't know what will. Now, that doesn't mean don't enjoy ourselves, because I'm really a kid, and I'm called to bring the joy and to bring the child out of people. So of course, it's important that we experience the joy, most definitely and absolutely. But if this time doesn't cause us to get quiet with the Lord and bring us to a place of just meditating on Him. I was reading something in one of my devotionals yesterday that all your life of teaching, you cannot hear what you could hear from God in one day by being in His presence. It's like, I don't really think this is the time for preaching or for teaching necessarily, but I want to hear from my rabbi. I want to hear from Rabbi Yeshua, because God has stopped the whole world. What is God trying to say? What is He wanting to say to us? That's really the $1 million or million shekel question. What does He want to say to you and me today? Because He wants to talk to us. And I want to share a personal testimony here. Well, I always try to. But basically, since we've been in lockdown, I've kind of been in survival mode, where I'm like taking care of myself each day, making sure that I'm doing what I need to keep my joy on. I'm having my time with the Lord, but then I'm going out and I'm having physical exercise, getting the sunshine, getting the vitamin D, just kind of sustaining myself. And of course, making my encouragement videos. And if I don't have time with the Lord, I've got nothing to offer up to you guys anyway. So, sorry, I'm just losing my train of thought, and I know that thought's going to come back. Okay, there it is. It's going in for a landing. Okay. But today I felt like I broke through, because I've just been like day by day sustaining myself. But now I feel like getting adjusted to this kind of sort of temporary, new normal, but temporary. I'm starting to now look at what's ahead of me again, and the vision that God has put in my heart, and continuing on forward, and what's realistic, what can I do while I'm in lockdown, and things like that. But if we don't share our own personal story, how do we help anybody? And I've always said, the day I stop sharing vulnerably, I will resign from ministry, because if I'm not being real, I've got absolutely nothing to offer you. So, you know what? We have to respect ourselves and we have to respect our journey. We are all a unique individual, and our fingerprints prove that. And so if God is calling you to turn your phone off, which a dear friend of mine has done, and she's had a lot of breakthroughs, I've been doing that, and I felt the Lord was speaking to me about that before she even mentioned it. So the Lord was speaking to us both the same way. There's so much coming through the internet now. And so we need to give the way that we're called to give, but we also need to retreat so that we can hear from the Lord, so that we can give again. You know, Yeshua retreated. He went into the quiet places so that he had something to give. And so we're his followers, and so we need to follow the same pattern. If we're always in noise, we won't hear anything. So I want to encourage you today. What is God saying to you personally? Because there can be a lot of voices and a lot of pressure. And just because the Lord is speaking to your friend about something doesn't mean he's speaking to you that way. So you really need to tune into the voice of the Holy Spirit. And Yeshua promised us the Holy Spirit, and he sent his Holy Spirit, and that is our seal of ownership in him. And the Holy Spirit is our barometer, the leader and guider of our lives. So let's let him be in the driver's seat today. God bless you from the city of rejoicing, Yerushalayim. Shabbat Shalom, friends.